Welcome to the Magic Makers podcast. I'm your host, Jason DeRocha, and today I'm very excited because I have one of my favorite people on the planet on the podcast, the franchise owner in Hamilton, Jake Weston. Jake, thanks so much for coming on at the Sportball's Magic Maker podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
Appreciate you. Well, Jake, it's going to be kind of weird because we're friends outside of Sportball. We've known each other for, I think, more than half of our life. We both cut our teeth at Sportball. So, yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you today because I think there's lots of questions I wanted to ask you that I actually don't know the answers to. And then all the questions that I do know the answers to, we probably can't get on air. So I'm really excited to talk to you today and find out more about your journey at Sportball. What brought you here? What makes you tick as a business owner? And some of the lessons you've learned along the way. So, yeah, why don't we start with talking a little bit about who you are?
Sure, Jay. So, I mean, if we want to go back to the real beginning, you and I worked together for Sportball in Toronto for years and years, and that was my introduction to Sportball, was kind of coaching 3 hours on a Saturday morning in high school and getting to kind of combine my two loves, which are sports and working with children. My transition into kind of business ownership and Sportball Hamilton was started my family, moved out here looking for a little more space, was looking for a similar experience for my oldest son, who's now 12, almost 13, out here. When we first moved out, had such positive experiences with Sportball, just coaching it myself. Couldn't find it, reached out to Sportball and said, you know, why is this not out here? There's families moving out here and there's a huge demand for it. Got the ball rolling from there.
Cool. And if you don't mind my asking, I really don't know. How did you find Sportball? What was the first, Sportball experience?
Jay, this is going to make me sound old. It was in a newspaper.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. Yeah. So there used to be, I grew up in Toronto in the beaches. And there used to be a small kind of community newsletter called the Beach Metro News. And there was just a small, the old school little block looking for type thing.
Classifieds.
And kind of, like I said, piqued my interest. Work with kids, work with sports. Perfect. Put them both together. It's a good couple of ways to get a couple hours as a high school kid, right? So applied that way.
How old were you at the time? What was the age?
I want to say 17, maybe 18. Yeah, it was somewhere in there. Yeah, so coach for 8 years in the GTA before transitioning into teaching, and then moved out here and transitioned into the business ownership side of things.
The business owner. So what was that like, being a high school kid? I mean, Sportball was really just in Toronto at that time. We weren't in the U.S. as yet.
Well, you'll know best as well as I did. It was very kind of. It was interesting because it was such a small, tight-knit group of us that as I kind of started working into full-time hours or something, there were kind of, 8 of us that were doing it. So we'd get to see each other and mix and mingle in passing sometimes. And, somebody would be in the Bayview Glen area on a Friday and we could grab lunch together. And it was really cool because we were all roughly within the same age range and all kind of got along so well that it was such a positive experience for me. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, we didn't really know, I think we knew what we were a part of, in that, the impact that we were having on kids' lives, being able to expose them to sports at such a young age and do so in such a positive way, us as being positive role models for kids. I think, the impact that we were having on parents in our programs and teachers coming out to the programs, it was almost like incidental. We would always have these experiences where it's like, wow, this parent said this, or this educator noticed that, or this child came out of their shell and became this really confident, competent kid. We had those moments, but I don't think at that time, I don't think we were really cognizant of what we were actually building. And then obviously when we started to get into maybe our mid-20s and Sportball started to garner some interest outside of Toronto, and we leaped into Vancouver and Austin, I think we started to realize, wow, we're really onto something here. This could be a lot bigger than kind of what we were building in Toronto. Do you kind of get the same sense?
100%. And I think you had a good point. I think it's easy to kind of overlook this stuff when you're 21, 22, right? I think it's very easy to kind of focus in on what you're doing and what you're a part of. But like you were saying, this whole thing was kind of growing and kind of blossoming. And my mentor, Mark Spillman, moved down to Texas, was kind of one of the first franchisees. Yeah. So that was pretty cool to see, not a direct possibility in my mind that was that was where the business was going. But
Right.
I remember learning under him and getting to watch him, and you've met Mark, like he's just an incredible
Phenomenal.
coach. And then to kind of see the possibilities of where Sportball was heading at the time. You're right. I don't know if it did hit us. And then, obviously as you transition into kind of adulthood, you realize that maybe there is something bigger going on.
Yeah, this could be a career. It's maybe this isn't just a part-time gig, or maybe just not just my first job. This could be something that I could sink my teeth into and build a future for myself and maybe one day, my family. So you were a teacher, and still are, of course, but then you transitioned into becoming a business owner. So what was that transition like? What made you want to move from being an employee to being a business owner?
Well, it's interesting, Jay, because I think I kind of come at it from a different angle, because the business side of it does not come natural to me. That's been my learning curve. The working with kids, the education, the methodology that we have in place, the developmental milestones that we've followed, that's all my passion. That's delivering the actual end product is my passion. So that has been an interesting transition for me, is learning the business side.
I think the approach of really doing this because you love it and having a passion for it really does allow you to almost be motivated to learn a little bit more about the business development piece, the partnerships piece, even how to deal with profitability and expenses, and really understanding how to build a team and scale effectively. It really does help that you're actually, in love with what you do every day. Like, it gets you out of bed every day. You like making a difference.
Well, it's funny because you and I have talked about this, but I still teach programs myself in person. And I know I need to take a step back there so that I can kind of grow on the business side of things. But there's part of me that's just, that's what you wake up on a Friday morning and you get to go into this school and provide a couple hours in programming, and then you hear the feedback from the parents and the educators and the people in the school that they're looking forward to this day so much, and that's the highlight of their week kind of thing, and that's what gets me up in the morning. That's what gets me moving.
Yeah, and I think it's the reason why you have probably one of the highest retention rates in all of Sportball.
My area of balance is balancing that expansion and those new things with hiring and with training the newer coaches and making sure that they're ready for that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think it transfers to anybody who's an entrepreneur in any business, really, right? Everybody wants to scale. Everyone wants to grow and expand. But if you're not focused on the quality of your product or service, you are very quickly, especially in today's market. I think, social media has completely changed the way that every business should be operating. I walk into some establishments that I used to walk into even 10, 20 years ago. The restaurant isn't clean. There's dirt on the ground. The washrooms aren't clean. The service, the person's not looking at you in your eye. They're just going through the motions. And I'm thinking, what a missed opportunity. And then it's 30 seconds away from being broadcast on a Google review somewhere, or on a Reddit, or on a YouTube video, or IG. You have to pay attention to the kind of service and product that you're providing. And for this business in particular, when you're working with children, the opportunity that we have to make a difference in a child's life as a coach, we take that very seriously.
100%. And I think you're right. I think you have one chance to make a first opportunity, right? So this is a children's first introduction to a sport, potentially. This could be their first introduction to a drop-off style class. Maybe they've never done, they could be anxious and nervous about that side of things. And we have a chance to write the narrative of the self-esteem when they walk into class. That, if you're greeting that child and looking them in the eyes and, hey guys, my name's Coach Jake. We're going to be doing some basketball today. Awesome dinosaur I see on your shirt. We have all of these chances to make little connection points, that are opportunities, like you said. And I think it's imperative that we don't take those lightly.
Yeah. Well, I remember coaching with you. I don't think I've given you enough credit. Maybe I haven't said this to you before, but I remember seeing the way that you interacted with kids, the way that you made them smile. You were so funny. Like, you had the entire class laughing, and it wasn't just the kids. Like, you also knew how to get along with other coaches. So it was like so enjoyable to work together with you. Can you talk a little bit about, personality and style and what you try to share with your team?
Appreciate you saying that, Jay. I think a lot of what I relate to in the kids is just, you have to live in that moment. I always tell coaches, you have to be lighthearted. You have to come in check your ego. You're not going to seem cool. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you to make a noise. We're going to do our soccer dribble and trap, and I'm going to go, oh, the pterodactyls are going to try and steal your ball. What noise does a pterodactyl make, right? And I'm going to put these new coaches on the spot, because nobody can make a good pterodactyl noise. Nobody knows what it sounds like. And we're going to laugh and we're going to joke about it, right? Because the second you can kind of laugh at yourself and just kind of be self-deprecating is the second you just kind of, the bars come off and you can have some fun.
Yeah. I would love to come out to it. Invite me out to your next training workshop. I want to come check that out.
Open door,
so
buddy.
obviously you love the business. You love the coaching aspect of the business. What are some of the great takeaways that you have from owning a Sportball franchise? Like, what do you enjoy most about being a business owner?
The ability to make a difference that we talked about, and I think coaching does that within that class that you're teaching at the time. I think the opportunity to own the business allows you that expansion of a whole network area, a whole community, a whole group of neighborhoods kind of thing. And then, yeah, you know, you and I have talked. I have a partnership with the SCORE program, which is a program that McMaster University is running here, providing sports opportunities for newcomer youth. So this is new immigrant families to the neighborhoods and to the communities, giving them a chance to be exposed to 8 different sports, some of which maybe they've never seen before, and then further that opportunity. You know, if you're going into a new school and I can go, oh, wait a minute, I was on a team with Jason last week. Like, all of a sudden we have a connection point in school. Everything doesn't kind of feel so alone, hopefully.
Yeah.
So that's my view on the business as an opportunity to connect people and then communities.
Making a difference. Yeah. Children's lives, coaches' lives, and then within the community. If you were speaking with someone who was considering a Sportball franchise or opening their own business, you know, what were some of the maybe lessons that you wish maybe were imparted to you before you got started in business?
Obviously they'll do their due diligence on the Sportball brand. And I think once you look at the lesson plans that are in place, the support that is in place, the availability from all of us to reach out at any point. You know, you and I talked last week about potentially reaching out to a new franchisee close to my location. We are all in this for the same reason. And there's a lot of tools in the toolbox at your disposal to give you a running head start as a business owner, especially now. You and I have talked about this, that the amount of things that are being put into place that are just kind of plug and play, or answers that you have that maybe weren't kind of documented as well before, or as accessible before, are all there for you. And I think with some passion and with some energy and a little go-get, I think everything else is in place.
Cool. Yeah. So, you know, when you're saying like dig into it, do your due diligence, it's market due diligence, really understanding where you're going to be opening your business so that you understand where the opportunities lie and what you need to do to take advantage of them. You're not just using that brand. You know, what kind of support do you get from the team that's at Sportball, you know, the systems, the platforms, the playbooks. Hopefully we provided all of that so that franchisees can be successful in scaling their business and hiring their team and delivering quality programs. You know, Jake, I had a question. You know, I know that we're getting close to time here. I had a question. You obviously you teach a lot to kids. What are some of the lessons you've learned while teaching kids?
It's a good question, Jay.
Okay, give that some thought.
I would almost say, what can the kids teach us? That would be the way I would look at it. And I think that is our just unbridled joy. And they react in the moment, and they will let you know how they feel, and they don't come in with kind of these pre-assumed narratives. They come into class, they're ready for fun, and that class can be what you make it. So I would almost flip it and say the kids have taught me more to learn to live in the moment. You know?
Yeah, I love that. Being present, you know, just being in the moment and being present. That's a wonderful lesson. And what I was going to say is, you know, while you were thinking of an answer to that question, is what is a lesson that you think, or maybe that's it, maybe it's just being present, but what's a lesson that we impart to children that you think that adults could benefit from? What do we teach in a Sportball class that you think you wish maybe adults would learn?
Failure. I think sports has an incredible opportunity to provide failure, and then I think we have a way to control how we react and move forward from that failure.
And as you get older, you don't put yourself in as many situations where you fail. You know, you've gone through a lot of that from childhood, teenage years, and your 20s, and then you hit this level of stability as you get older, and you sometimes can stop challenging yourself and that's where all the learning, and that's where all the passion and the love for growing and developing, that's where it all exists. So it's a really great lesson. Is so you would say to all the adults, at least once a day or once a week or once a month, challenge yourself, experience some sort of failure so that you can be a better version of yourself.
All right. Put yourself in some discomfort and challenge yourself, and you'll never know what'll come out of it.
Love it. Jake, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to chat with me, man. It's been cool to reminisce with you and hear some of the lessons that you impart to your team and the lessons that you've taken out of this experience. If anybody wanted to find you, Jake, and follow you or to register for your programs, what's the best way?
So all of the social medias are Sportball Hamilton, sportball.com, obviously, our website. Welcome to reach out and email us. Happy to talk things over.
Sounds good. And I know that your LinkedIn profile is up to date now and ready to go, so they can also connect with you on LinkedIn.
I'm learning that too. Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful. All right. Well, Jake, thanks again for taking the time, brother. Congratulations on all your success. Can't wait to see what you do in the rest of 2026.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.